back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I am here after a long break, an unintended long break, to tell you guys about what I read in the month of March and also in the month of April, because I haven't wrapped up either of those months because I haven't filmed anything. Where was I? Long and short of it is I got really sick in March, didn't read very much overall in March and April. And then I spent April kind of catching up with work. We also had a mini holiday in April, so I just didn't really have a lot of time for sitting down and filming. I also kind of changed up my routine with like diet and exercise and all those sorts of things in April, end of April, start of May. So it's kind of been an adjustment period of like changing things around and getting used to that, and also getting over being ill, catching up with work, lots of things. So with all that being said, I'm hoping to be back on BookTube again much more regularly now. Fingers crossed we don't get any more illnesses or anything like that. It wasn't COVID, it was just a horrendous cold, probably the worst cold I've ever had in my life. But anyway, this is what happens when you have a child, because they just catch everything and then they give it to you and then you catch everything. Anyway, let's get on with the wrap up. So, over the course of March and April, I read 9 books. In May already I have finished 2 books, so May is a much better month. But yeah, March and April, 9 books in total, not very good for me. So, let's just run through what I ended up reading. The first thing that I finished in March was Mexican Gothic. I think I might have already spoken about this, or I've done a video somewhere. Whether I've edited it and put it up, I don't know, I will check. It was alright. It wasn't great. I think I gave it like 2.5 in the end. It does have Gothic vibes. It doesn't have much of the Mexican side to it, and I wanted more of that, so wasn't my fave. I'm not sure I get on with this author that well, because I've tried 2 of her books and they've both been like interesting premise, not great execution for me personally. So yeah, I don't know if I'll read any more of her works. Next up, I read Daughter of the Moon Goddess. This one I picked up because it had such a beautiful cover, I could not resist it. And I was pretty interested in the concept. It kind of draws on like Chinese mythology, which always sounds really cool to me. I love sort of Eastern inspired mythology or folktale, and this one draws on the mythology of the moon goddess, and I very much didn't know anything really about this story but was quite excited to. It draws heavily on the inspiration of that story, but we follow the daughter of the moon goddess who is kind of making her own way in the world. I gave it a 3.5 stars in the end. It was very enjoyable. I did like reading it. It is a debut and it's also the first in a duology, so I am interested to kind of see what happens next, because I think there's a lot of really interesting folklore and fairy tale being drawn upon, which I really liked. I don't think the characterization was as strong as I would have maybe liked it to be, but it was good. I enjoyed it, and it was quite different to a lot of things that I've read because of the mythology that it draws on, so yeah, 3.5 for that one. Next up, I picked up The Fowl Twins by Owen Colfer. This one is a sort of spin-off series following 2 younger brothers of Artemis Fowl. I thought this was okay. It was nothing super original. It didn't feel as strong as the Artemis Fowl series, which I loved when I was a kid, hence picking this one up when I found out there was a spin-off series. It was okay, it was fine. The twins themselves are okay characters, but they just don't feel as fleshed out as Artemis does. They feel a little bit like watered down Artemis, and I didn't love that. The story was enjoyable, it was easy to get into, but yeah, I gave it like 2.5 in the end. Very middle of the road, very okay. Don't know if I'll carry on with the series. Next up, I read the second one in the Last Gift series by Allegra Pescatore. This one is Whispers of Stone. I really enjoyed this. I thought it was a strong continuation from the first book. I think a lot more is built upon in this one, and the world is developed, the storyline is developed, the characters get fleshed out more, and I just really enjoyed kind of following the adventures further. So 4 stars for that one. Very much a series that I intend to continue on with. I will likely do a review of this one as well, so look out for that.
Next up, I read two books, almost back to back actually, and they are in the same series, so I'll talk about them together. The first one is The Black Coast, and the second one is The Splinter King. They're by Mike Brooks, and they're the first and second in the God King Chronicles. I've actually just got the third one, which I got on NetGalley, so I'm very excited about that because I think that comes out later this year. And this series was a complete surprise for me. I had never heard of it. I saw it on Twitter. A couple of people were tweeting about it, saying it's good. I thought, love the covers. Interested to try out the author because I've never read any of his work. Why not give it a go? And I fell in love with it. I just thought it was fantastic. It's a queer LGBT plus series that has a lot of representation in that area. It also deals a lot with different types of society, clashing of cultures, big epic world, dragons, lots of warfare, lots of political strife, lots of different cultures who have to adapt and learn or fight against themselves. Lots of questioning of belief systems. It's very interesting. It's got a lot in there. I will definitely be doing a series review of this very soon because it's a series I think more people need to pick up. As I say, I'd never heard of it. I just happened across it on Twitter and I'm so glad I did. So yeah, highly recommend this actually. I gave the first one in the series 4.5 and the second one 4. I really enjoyed both of them. I think the second one suffered slightly from being like the middle book syndrome, but I'm very excited for the third one and I can't wait to get into it very soon. Next up, I picked up the first one in a new series by Michael J. Sullivan. I really enjoy Sullivan's works. I've read all of his books in the Riaria world and I love them. This is a new series that he's just started. It begins with Nolan. We follow some characters who we've seen before in previous series and then we've got a whole host of new characters as well who we haven't seen before. So I really enjoyed this one. I always enjoy Michael J. Sullivan's writing style. I love the fact that he constantly refers back to other books. You don't have to have read his other series to read this one. You can start here. I would personally say that you probably want to read the first Empire books at the very minimum before you dive into here. And actually I've read all of his books just in publication order, which I think works really well. So it's up to you where you start with his series. But I think at a minimum, I would recommend reading the first Empire series and then going into this series, which is the Rise and the Fall series. I enjoyed this one a lot. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It wasn't my favourite of his books, but it's definitely still a strong one. And I think the rest of the series, usually with Michael J. Sullivan, he gets better book on book in the series and he just surprises me. So I'm excited to see what he does with this series now as well. So I will be continuing on with that series. Next up, I read the book club book for my work book club, and that was Violet. This one was okay. Weird story. We discussed it at length in the book club and I don't think I'll be doing a full review of this myself, but I don't think I'll be reading more by this author, let's put it that way. It was just a bit messy, it was a bit predictable, it was a bit overly dramatic and silly at times. Probably not one to recommend. I think I gave it like 2 stars maybe. A book that I did really enjoy, which is currently I think a standalone, but I do believe the author is writing more in the world, even if they're not kind of technically a series, they are set in the same world, and that is Legends and Latte by Travis Baldry. I saw this pop up on Twitter when the author posted a picture of the cover. I'd never heard of it before. Sounded like a nice cozy kind of read that I thought Steve, my partner, would enjoy, so I sent it to him. I said, "Ooh, when this comes out, maybe you want to read it." He thought that would be a great idea, added it to his like pre-orders list, got the book, read the book, loved the book, and said that I needed to read the book. So I was like, okay, I will. And I picked it up as well. I've read through it very quickly and it was very enjoyable. It is a cozy kind of fantasy read. I would put it in the same vein as Becky Chambers for stylistic stuff. I would say it's definitely got that easy reading vibe, which it's just nice sometimes to read like a nice cozy read and not something that's big and epic and all over the place and crazy. Like this one is just down to earth. It's a nice well-contained story that works very well and I liked it a lot, so I gave it 4 stars. I then DNF'd a book. I DNF'd Age of Ash, which is by Daniel Abraham. I read about half of this I think and it just was fine, but it was nothing new and nothing different enough to get me that excited, and I just found I was not that interested in carrying on, so I DNF'd. It's a story about a thief and her brother is murdered and she's trying to kind of find out why. it's very predictable and I just didn't think it was great. So unfortunately that was a DNF for me. And I think that was it for March and April, because as I say, in May I've read 2 books so far. May is going much better, but yeah, not great on the old reading for those 2 months. For me anyway, I tend to read a lot more than this. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of the ones that I mentioned and what you thought of them. May has got off to a better start because I've read a book that I really enjoyed in May, and it's the start of a series which I intend to carry on with. I have a couple of exciting books that I'm planning to get to, so I will be doing a May TBR very soon. Check that out if you haven't already. Thank you all for watching. Leave me your top books of the last 2 months in the comment section below that you've read, and I will see you hopefully a lot sooner than last time in another video. Bye everyone.
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.